What's going on, guys? This is Chandler Smith, and over the last 6+ years, I've been accumulating a real estate portfolio of buy and hold real estate. And what I decided to do was put together a group of a bunch of videos going through every single deal that I did, from my first deal to now my most recent deal. If you like investing in real estate or you're just wanting to get started, I'm really hoping these videos will help you to see the mistakes that I made and the things that you can do right the first time around. So if you like real estate investing, just remember to push that like button and subscribe to the channel. Today, we're gonna be talking about the third deal that I ever did, and it was actually the first multifamily deal. It was on a duplex. And so we're gonna go through how I was able to find the deal, how I ran the quick math, and how I worked out the deal with the person that was selling it. We're gonna talk about the pros and cons of going from single family into multifamily, and we're gonna talk about a couple of the mistakes that I made along the way that hopefully I can help you avoid. So let's jump into it. I wanna share the story of how I was able to find this deal. So the first thing that I did is I picked out a neighborhood that I knew I wanted to invest in. Now, once I picked out that neighborhood, I started to analyze the rents in that specific area. So I knew exactly what a single family unit was going for, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, so that I could know what I was looking for. And I had narrowed in to where I wanted either a single family home or a duplex. On this particular day, after gaining all of that information over the course of a couple months, I was just driving the neighborhood. I had looked up a couple properties on the MLS that I thought were interesting, and I wanted to go drive through and see if there was any for sale by owners and check out some of the listings that I had seen on the MLS. And when I was driving down the road, I just happened to drive by an older gentleman out pounding in a for sale by owner sign. So I slammed on the brakes, I hopped out of my car, I went up and I said, "Hey, what are you selling the place for? What is it? Fill me in on all the information." I was super just friendly, just kind of filling out the situation. And he said, "You know what? We've actually owned this for a little while now. We've been renting it. We just lost the top tenants, and it's just kind of been a hassle to rent over the years. And my wife and I just decided that we wanted to unload it. So we were planning on listing it for sale by owner, and we've actually got a realtor coming over later this week to talk to him about potentially listing it for us." So I immediately said, "Oh, well, look, I'm really interested. I'm just a new investor, but I own 1 condo at this point, and I've done some other stuff with real estate. I would love the opportunity to look at it and see if maybe we could put a deal together." So I went, I looked through the property. I was able to find that the hardwood floors were kind of aged. They definitely needed to be refinished. There were lots of flies in the unit because the tenant they had kicked out was pretty gross. And I also found out that both the upstairs and the downstairs tenants were gone. So obviously they had had some issues and they were just ready to be done with it. Now I went through and I was able to pick out those couple things that I knew were intimidating for someone, 1, trying to sell it, and 2, trying to buy it. I mean, there were the flies all over, it was kind of gross, it needed to be cleaned. The carpets upstairs had a little bit of pet damage. The main floor needed the hardwood refinished. After I'd finished looking through it, I sat down with this older gentleman and I said, "Well, hey, fill me in. I mean, what do you want to try and sell it for? What's kind of the situation? What were you renting it for?" And I kind of got all of the information while building a relationship. He told me that they'd owned it for a little while, but they had a bad experience with the most recent tenants, and before the tenants were gone, they were renting it for right around $1,000 a month. And that was a little skewed. It made it sound like maybe it was 900, maybe it was 1,000, but he thought it could go for more. And so that's where I knew rents were at. Now, after looking at the market, I knew I could get substantially more out of this house, especially if I cleaned it up a little bit. They were thinking about listing it with a realtor for around 120 with plans on maybe dropping it a little bit. And so right away, I knew they had some wiggle room and they were wanting to get rid of it. And most people prefer to not get a realtor involved because then they've got to pay a fee. And so that was the other big piece of information that I needed. After speaking with him, figuring out some of the other issues or little fixes we were gonna have to deal with, we started negotiating, and I was able to get him all the way down to only $96,000 on a deal for sell by owner. And I did it with a lot of urgency, which I was able to use because he had a realtor coming that week. And I knew the second that the realtor was on board, I was going to be in trouble because it was gonna hit the MLS and most likely was gonna go for a lot more. So that was how I was able to find the deal. Now, once I got in there, I immediately fixed up the hardwood floors. I got rid of the smell. I got rid of the flies. I added some paint in the basement, and we began to get it rented. Now, right away, I found a couple huge pros to investing in multifamily. The first one was I now had 2 units that I could increase rents on. I had 2 units that were gonna be producing rents. And with those 2 units, I knew, hey, even if I just get one of them filled, I'm gonna be able to pay my mortgage on this if I need more time to get the other one filled. And in the future, if I have one tenant go out, I'm gonna be in that same situation where I'm not super stressed because I have 2 different forms of income coming in from this one purchase. So those were the huge advantages I recognized right away. And I was so gung-ho to take advantage of them that even though I had a new management company, the problem was they were a very fresh management company. Now they're the same company I use today. It's a gentleman and his wife, and now they've got a pretty good staff under them, taking care of all of my properties. But at the time, they were going through a learning curve just as I was getting into investing in real estate. And so I was pushing them so hard to get this unit filled because we'd closed on it and we now owned it, and we had to do that little work on it with refinishing the floors and getting it cleaned up, that I was getting a little stressed. I wanted income coming in from getting tenants. So with me pushing them, they grabbed probably some of the first people that came through the door. And what happened is we got extremely lucky on the upstairs with an incredible family. They were paying $950 a month. So it was this 3-bedroom upstairs that now I'd almost gotten all of the rents that he was getting before from both units just in the upstairs unit. So we were stoked on that, but we really wanted to push filling that basement unit. And honestly, it was just a 1-bedroom apartment. We probably should have cleaned it up a little bit more before we just rushed to filling it. And we put someone in without doing hardly any checking on them. We didn't get a credit check. We didn't get a background check. The only thing we checked on was that they did have some kind of employment, and we threw them into the basement. Early on, everything was perfect. I mean, the upstairs tenant was incredible. The downstairs tenant was really good. They were paying, but a couple months into the lease, we started getting a lot of complaints from the upstairs tenant about issues in the downstairs, like random screaming of curse words, smell of drugs, all of these different things of people coming in and out, and noise complaints. And so it got to the point where we were really worried about losing these good upstairs tenants because of the basement tenants. Once we started bringing up the complaints, the relationship got worse, the things didn't stop, but rent started coming later, and it turned into a pretty messy situation. And so that's one of the big cons of going into multifamily stuff, is you've got to deal with the tenants and kind of the issues that you'll have back and forth, which is just another reason that you've got to make sure you get good tenants. Now, looking back, that is the only complaint I would have about multifamily, is dealing with the tenants, because the taxes ended up being cheaper because they were the same taxes that we'd be paying for a home in that neighborhood, but now we have 2 tenants that we could increase the rents on. So after dealing with the issues, we talked to the upstairs tenant. We were able to finally get the downstairs tenant out, and the upstairs tenant had a friend that they really wanted to live in the basement. And we're like, oh, this is perfect. But the friend had a little bit tighter budget. So we dropped rents just a little bit, but we are now still getting $950 on the top and $450 on the bottom. So we took something that was only purchased for $96,000, and we're now getting $1,400 every single month out of this apartment. So it ended up being being this perfect situation, not to mention the fact that they take care of all of the lawn care, they treat the home like it's their own, and that's another thing that sometimes you worry about with multifamily is finding tenants that are willing to stay for a long time. These tenants have now been there for over 5 years, so it's been this incredible relationship. And I think in my other videos, people give me grief about going in and raising rents, but here's the deal. We raised the rents on this, we found an incredible tenant, and because I'm cash flowing, I'm getting a good return, and I've got incredible tenants, I'm not gonna worry about bumping the rents because I've gotten everything that I need, and there's no reason to poke a snake per se and put yourself in a situation where you might lose incredible consistent cash flow. The biggest take home I would give you as you're going into these multifamily units is make sure your numbers are right, make sure you know what kind of fixes you're going to need to do to get good tenants in there, and then do your background check, do your credit check. Take the time necessary to find good tenants to put into your units, because as I saw with this one, it was a hassle early on, and I'm sure we'd lost money because of the way we did it originally, but because we now transitioned into doing the right thing for our tenants and finding the right tenants, we're in an incredible situation where this building has literally been one of my favorite investments because it cash flows huge and I don't have any concerns about the tenants or any other issues. Now, if you guys enjoyed the video, push the like button and subscribe to the channel because I'm going to continue to release one of these videos every single week that shows every deal that I've done from start to finish in this playlist. That way you can see all of the mistakes I made, the things I wish I did different, and the things that I think I did well, and apply them in your own investing career. Because my goal is to help you to create a huge passive income for yourself. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great day.